Welcome to Sharing the Mddl, where recovering perfectionists, overachievers, and anyone in the middle of a struggle come together to learn to embrace the messy middles of life. I'm Lacey, your friend in the middle and guide, whose claim to fame this week is just getting this podcast out. I'm real proud of that one. Technology is not my friend today, but that's just fine. So today I'm really excited because I'm joined by Sara Kelly. She's a CEO and mom of her home in upstate New York and runs Your Aligned Home, a home management consulting business. Her passion for home management, reducing stress, and most of all, helping others is what led her to this work. Sara has become like my business bestie is kind of how I think of her in my head over the past few months. We met in a course a while ago, and then we both belong to a networking group called Hey Mama. I said, I need someone to keep me honest. And she was like, wait, I need someone to do that too. And we even created a little business buddies. Sara's been the one that I get to go to when I've got ideas or just frustrated or whatnot. So that's why she is part of the Women Who Made Me series, because right now she is one of my go-to people and I am so thankful for her. So welcome, Sara.
Thank you so much. I am so flattered. I'm so tickled. Tickled is the absolute right word. Every time I think about the fact that you invited me on for this series, I'm like, oh my gosh, the fact that I was able to help you enough that you want to have me on, I'm like, that's so amazing. So thank you for this opportunity.
Oh my gosh, so much. And you helped me. You were one of the people who really looked through support from the middle of my workbook and gave me some really good ideas and feedback. And just, I'm tickled too.
We're having a long distance tickle.
Uh-huh. Well, I would love to know what you think of, or what you thought of, at least for the first time when you heard the concept of the middle.
So it's interesting because I actually go to pretty positive things when I think of the middle, which we have discussed before, that we come at it from very different viewpoints. I think of every day I do Wordle. Do you do Wordle?
I did for a period of time. My husband's still a big Wordler. And so I'll lay with him and watch him do it, but I don't necessarily do it as much.
So I look forward to it every night. And it can only last so long because you have to finish it within 24 hours and you only have 6 guesses. But when I think of the middle, it's sort of, I think of this push-pull feeling. It's frustrating, but it's also exciting. And I mean, Wordle specifically, before you even start, it's okay, I have 6 tries. And that first try is just a shot in the wind, right? You have no idea. Yeah. And you have to really get in there and I think of really when I'm in the middle of it, and I know certain letters, but I don't know other ones. And I'm really using my brain to try to figure it out. And at the same time that I want it to be over and I want to solve it and I want it to be done, it's sort of like Christmas morning. You want to open that box and know what's inside. At the same moment, I don't want it to be over, because that is the fun part, is the discovering part, right? Because once it's done, it's done and I have to wait. So I think of fun things like that, which is definitely sort of one of those with age comes wisdom, because I would never have said that 10 years ago. I hated riddles before because I couldn't take the impatience of not knowing.
Preach, that's me all the time.
I know, I think about that. I do think about that with you, how you always talk about wanting to know the outcome or wanting to get to, the end. I'm always like, oh, but the middle's the good part.
I know. I know it logically. Well, I mean, so you mentioned surprises. In general, are you a person who likes surprises?
Well, I think of 2 different types of surprises. So I just went and saw a scary movie. So I think of jump scare surprises. Sometimes I don't like that because I'm very reactive in that sense. But if it's a surprise, like a present, oh, I'm sending you something in the mail, but I don't know what it is. And I get to think about waiting. And I'm like, oh, what's it going to be? I enjoy that kind because I really play with oh my gosh, the building up of excitement. But a jump scare, I don't want to go through a haunted house. I don't want that kind of surprise.
No, thank you for me. Yeah, I've been to a haunted house once in my life, and my friend that I went with was so much shorter than me, and she was in front of me, and she jumped up, and I bit my lip, and so now ever since then, I'm like, not for me. no, thank you. Not that it was for me then either. I just went because I wanted to, be with people. But see, and I don't know if you've heard me talk about it. I am the worst at surprises because as soon as I know about a surprise, I want to know about it now. So like the example that you just gave me of someone sending something in the mail. I've got the USPS delivery digest, so like I can see when things are coming and when they're going to be delivered. I'm a crazy person. I just cannot handle not knowing.
Again, I don't know if this is like an age thing because I am older than you. We share a birthday month, by the way, but I'm older by you by like a decade. I don't know, think about when you're in the ocean and there's a wave coming. Like there's this beautiful crescendo. You can't, or when you're listening to a piece of music, music always has an apex at some point. And when you're listening to something and it's building up and it's like, that buildup is coming. But if they started with the buildup, it wouldn't be good. If they started with the max point, it would be like, ugh. Like it's the buildup that is fun. So I don't know. I guess I just savor that part because think about, again, like a piece of music that you love. Once you get past that high point in the music, then you kind of know that it's past and the best part of the song is kind of over,
Yeah. Actually, your example of the ocean hit me really hard because I love water. I'm a water person and I love going into the ocean and being on the swells. And there's that moment where you are just like weightless because you're at the top of that swell. And that's my favorite part. So you got me with that one. You didn't even have to explain that one. And I felt it in my soul of like, that moment of like weightlessness of, I'm just here in this moment. I do. I've always loved that. So see, I'm finding more things I like in the middle. I just have to keep making myself aware of it.
But I think but what's so beautiful and why I tell everyone about your podcast, what's so beautiful is like you are taking this and you are really examining it. You're not brushing the frustration aside. You're examining it. You're looking at it from all angles. You're asking other people to give you their input. That's why I love art, because art is really everyone's interpretation of a feeling, an object, an emotion, whatever, right? And it's like you are holding up this middle and you are looking at it from every vantage point. And that's how we come to understand things. So, I mean, I appreciate the process that you're doing. And it's all part of the journey. So it's all good. It's all good.
And this is why Sara is my business bestie, is because she tells me things like that. And I think you get it right away. Well, why, as you know, I like to ground our conversation in like a specific middle moment. And I would love to hear about yours.
Well, so this is going to feel like a complete 180 flip. So when I had that prompt, I thought of 10 years ago, it was pretty much a year in my life where every morning I would wake up and throughout the day, I would have that quote. I believe it's Winston Churchill, when you're going through hell, just keep going. And it was just one of those times where, I feel like you might be in the middle of one where it's just kind of like one thing after another happens. And you're just like, is this a cosmic joke? Like, how much do you think I can handle? And there was there was no way out, actually, of the situation that I was in. And so I looked down, I called it my survival mode, and I'd say, just keep going. Just one step in front of the other. I didn't know how it was going to end. I didn't know how I was going to get through it. I couldn't even think about the next day. I couldn't even think about an hour out. I could literally only concentrate on each moment. And it was the middle of hell, but I had to keep going. And again, I think maybe that's why I have such a different viewpoint of the middle now, because I did go through this really trying time in my life, which I think everybody experiences those trying times. Like, and it's so
absolutely.
Yeah.
Now you said like a cosmic joke. I'm curious, and I'm going to tie into. It made me think of something that I went through yesterday. You are very lighthearted, and I know you like to laugh and that kind of stuff. Do you feel like you had that? So I'm going to tell my story, and then I can So yesterday, over the weekend, I went up to my parents' house. Me and my kids went up to my parents' house so my husband could have a weekend off. Big deal, so that he could, because he does pretty much everything around here, and he would rather be at our house by himself than go somewhere.
Oh,
so yeah, we went up there, and my parents took us out to lunch, and it had been the first time I ever gone out to lunch in a really long time because I don't really go anywhere. During lunch, I ended up having an issue where I was having a difficulty swallowing, and I had to run to the bathroom twice. Again, I was there with my mom, and she's the best. So literally, I'm not quite vomiting, but kind of. And water was coming up because I had something stuck in my throat and the water wouldn't push it down like I was hoping it would. And my mom came behind me because I bolted to the bathroom. This was the second time this happened. And my mom came in behind me and she was like, I wiped up all the water on the ground. And I just sat there and I laughed for 10 minutes because this was the first time I had been out to eat in a long time. And I was there with my mom and my kids. And my mom knew me well enough that she knew I would be worried about the water on the floor and embarrassed about it. And I just am sitting on the floor of this bathroom laughing. And my mom started laughing too, because she got it in that moment of this is some shit, right? And laughing. And she was like, man, I really appreciate that you can just laugh at this moment. And I'm like, yeah, me too. And she's like, what else can you do? I'm like, nothing. I don't think there's anything else I can do. So when someone says cosmic joke, I'm like, yes, that is how I've started reacting to these things of just the randomness that happens to me. So I'm just curious if that is what you mean, or if you mean the other part of it of just almost like we're in the Truman Show and you're looking around is this scripted? Is someone playing a joke on me?
So the one, when you talked about the laughing, there's actually a German word for that and I cannot remember, but I've been there before. That I've gotten to that point, and I remember my husband thought I was having a stroke because I was laughing hysterically, and our washing machine dumped all of its water onto the floor. I was building a dam with microfiber towels, trying to keep it from going onto the wood floor. My son, who's 2.5, starts running through the water. The dog thinks it's a game, so the dog starts running through the water. The water's going everywhere, and I start laughing. So I've been there, but no, this year that I was in, I wasn't able to see it that way at the time. I had to learn some lessons. I had a double whammy of postpartum depression and post-traumatic stress disorder at the same time. So there was not a lot of laughing happening at the time.
No.
I can look at it now. Yeah, so I'll do bullet points. I'm not gonna rehash all of it, but my son had colic. I had labor and delivery complications, which left me with complications. I had postpartum depression. My husband was in a life-altering car accident. So he couldn't help with the baby. And then I had complications. So I was already struggling. And then I already had postpartum depression. And then I got post-traumatic stress disorder. And then it became this whole thing with the auto insurance and health insurance were battling over who didn't want to pay our bills the most. And I had new mama baby brain. I had no mental functioning going on. It was
because you probably slept so little.
So little. So, and we lived on a dirt road. We were really far from medical care. So even getting medical care was very challenging. And then we finally come up for enough breath from all of this. And we find out our dog, who was our first dog we adopted together when we got married, had cancer.
Oh my gosh.
And we're like, what? We're like, I'm so sorry, but you are so not at the top of our list right now. So I couldn't really laugh at the time. I can laugh about it now, but I look back and realize I had lessons to learn. Mostly was learning how to ask for help. So it was really uncomfortable, but I've learned from discomfort is an opportunity to learn something. And so now I can laugh about the big cosmic jokes, shit storms, because I have more tools I have a lot more tools. I think it's great that you have the tool of laughter, and like you could see that it wasn't like it was important, but you were safe, your kids were okay. Like, yes, you were puking and it wasn't ideal, but it was also like in the grand scheme, it was like okay, and you could laugh.
It was okay. I think you hit the nail on the head there that it was easy for me to laugh because I was safe. Like my mom came and helped me. My kids were with my dad and my nephew and they were fine. You know what I mean? And I just think about, I think in that moment, laughter helped because I can almost think of another time where I laughed and my husband wasn't ready to laugh when it was kind of a similar situation to you of like the smoke alarm was going off. One of my dogs was bleeding. I was like 6 or 7 months pregnant and like, just like when everything happens all at once. And I was laughing and he was not. And I think I've always been able to kind of see and recognize when it's not as serious or it's not as much of a problem. Just because I got to be honest, all of that you just described, that is a lot just at once to let more than one of those things happening. I had postpartum depression myself, but I didn't have the rest of that stuff. So I can't even imagine having a husband who had been sick. Both my kids were really good sleepers. Like I cannot imagine all of that at once.
Well, and I mean, it is a lot. I did survive and I learned a great term. There's no grief Olympics. Your experience of postpartum depression, like that's still a 10 out of 10 are we allowed to swear? Are we allowed?
Yeah, go for it.
Right? That's still a 10 out of 10 on the shit sandwich scale, right? And mine was a 10 out of 10 for me. You can't even compare. It's just like, I feel like whatever you are going through, like I said, for myself, I feel like I had a lesson to learn in the universe. I wasn't learning it. So the universe just kind of kept putting, I look back, there was this moment. This is why I say I had to learn to ask for help. We were down to one car because of the car accident and we lived on a dirt road. I could not feasibly walk to any resources. And I needed an onion so I could make dinner. And it took all my willpower to call somebody and ask, can you drop off an onion for me? And my friend was more than happy to help me. And I truly had to learn how to ask for help. And that's one of the things I express to people I work with all the time is learning how to ask for help. Because people want to help. And so again, I could go off on a whole tirade, or not tirade, but a whole thing on that. It's just, yes, when all those things are going wrong, like what tools do you have or what tools do you get to learn in that moment? Do you get to learn how to laugh? Do you get to learn how to ask for help? Do you get to learn, when it's not life or death? And that's for me in the moment of in the middle, like it felt like life or death because I had so many stressors going on in my body at once. So it actually was in the moment life or death. But I can laugh about it now, which I think is healthy.
No, the asking for support is something that I am very much learning right now. Like having my mom come down and pick me up to take me and my kids up to their house was I feel so bad doing that, but I also know that me driving for an hour and a half is probably not responsible. You know what I mean? And so to be able to give my husband what he needs, I needed to ask for help. Being okay taking it is so hard because I, again, had to ask my mom for help again today. And my husband was like, are we taking advantage of her? And I'm like, no, we're not. We're not. She literally said, I like to be needed. And also, I've told her many times, if it's a no from her, that's okay. I am presenting her with opportunities and that she is allowed to say no. And that has also been really helpful for me to be able to feel less guilty about asking for help, is letting people know that I'm asking, but I'm not expecting it. It would be great, but if I don't get it, that's okay. Everything's okay.
And that, to me, I'm going to do a module all around learning how to ask for help. Basically the two-way street of it. Like you said, if your mom says no, she's saying no because of a reason. And learning there's such two sides to the coin. Hey, if you can help me do ABC, that's great. But if you can't, I understand. Just let me know either way. And I have amazing neighbors, and I've been so lucky that I have this one neighbor, and we do things for each other all the time. And in the beginning, it was really awkward because we didn't want to put anyone out. And she finally said, if I say I will be honest, if we really aren't in a position to pick something up at the store or drop something off, like we're just going to respect that the other person knows when to say no, and we'll respect when they say no. So there's also that responsibility of when somebody asks you for help, you got to really check in with yourself. Am I in a place to give help, or am I in a place where I actually need to be asking for help right now?
Yeah, and saying no is okay. And and the other thing that I told my mom, because we had a nice long ride together, is that I love asking for her for help specifically because I know it doesn't come with expectations and strings. Because that's another kind of part of support and asking for help that's hard, is that I know, like I said, she wants to help. You know what I mean? And so I never feel uncomfortable asking her because I'm not playing a mental chess game of what I think she'll want and all these other things. And that has been another huge thing for me as well, to kind of be able to say out loud and realize and know what it means when I say I feel uncomfortable asking. It's because maybe I'm not sure what's going on in another person's head, and I'm worried that there's going to be strings and all these other things.
Yeah, and gosh, we could have so many podcasts about that. The whole unhealthy relationship between people who ask for help when they don't need help. And I mean, there is kind of this whole other aspect to it. But I will point out a note. Have you heard of Phil Stutz? There's a documentary on Netflix with Jonah Hill. Phil Stutz is his therapist. And I really like the way he phrases things. And I was listening to an interview with him, and he was talking about how where people need help and people ask for help, that intersection creates a point. And that point, all those points, is how we become connected as humans. Because if I'm like, I've got my hands up like parallel lines. Like if you just always live your life and somebody else just always lives their life, like you never actually have a point to really intersect and really become connected in that way. And when he said that, I was like, gosh, it's so beautiful. Like that is our human experience, right? And again, as long as you're coming from an honest place of needing help and coming from an honest place of giving help without strings, I mean, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, it's like, that's what
that I like a tangible piece of advice that you've actually already given several, but I would love to hear any other like takeaway or advice you would give yourself in that moment.
Yes. So I'm going to ask for two because it's also my birthday month. So the first one will apply to my middle, which was when I was in a really tough spot, which was I wish I could have talked to that person and just said, you have an opportunity to reframe this. Because I thought I was weak every day for going through hell. And there was an opportunity to reframe it of, you think you're weak because you're in pain. And you're not weak. You're in pain because you're human. And this sucks. This sucks really bad. So I wish I would have known how to see that from a different perspective. And then the other thing, and this is like on a more happy note because it's your birthday month and my birthday month, is I wish I would have known a lot earlier in my life to take myself out on my birthday and to treat myself, because I feel like so often we wait for other people to celebrate us. And it's like, well, we should celebrate ourselves first. So I buy myself flowers. I take myself out to get some fun, like chocolate. Like I do all the fun things. So I would say anyone out there listening, that is the best life hack you can ever do, is celebrate yourself on your own birthday.
I love it. And I will say, you live those things up, because these are both things that you've asked me about. One, you've helped me reframe a lot of things when I'm like frustrated. And then two, you asked me like, what are you doing for yourself today? So practicing what you preach. That's huge. I appreciate that. Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Where can people find you? How can they work with you? Explain all your Aligned Home and all that.
Yes. So my business name is Your Aligned Home, and that's my website and my Instagram handle. So you can find me in both those places, youralignedhome.com. And I call it home management consulting, which is if your home isn't running smoothly, who do you go to, right? If your car's not running smoothly, you go to a mechanic and they tell you what's not working right. So when your home's not running smoothly, you can come talk to me and I'll ask a lot of questions to diagnose what's going on, and we'll come up with a lot of solutions that fit you and your life. There's a one-on-one aspect of working with people to solve their problems. I also do a news nugget where I give a tangible idea of like a tip to do in your home to make your home run easier. I give a product recommendation, and then I give a little bit of emotional support because it's no easy job running a home. And then on my Instagram, I love to just do like thank you reels where I thank you for all the dirty and gross and boring jobs that you do managing your home. And I like to do like just inspirational stuff because, as you know, I think we have such an opportunity to put so much joy in the world. And I think that's why I love the middle so much, because you're always putting joy out there. So yeah, so your home should be that center of your joy ripple, and then it should just go out from there. So that's what I like to help people with.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It was great. Always great to chat with you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for all the beautiful work you're putting out there in the world. And I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. As usual, thank you for sharing the middle with me today. Remember to check out my writings at themddl.com. That's the MDDL.com. While you're there, you can sign up for the weekly newsletter to get a little bit more middle in your inbox each week. I am a one-woman show, so any bit of support means the world to me. I want the middle to be as accessible as possible, so I have several ways for you to support. You can shop the middle with some merch or my books, the Lacey Loves affiliate links and recommended products, Patreon for additional community and content, and I also just have a tip jar if you'd like to leave a tip. If you like today's show, also make sure to subscribe at your favorite podcatcher, share with a friend, and maybe even leave a 5-star review. Thanks so much to Lemon Music Studio for our theme music. It is literally called Sunshine, and that is certainly how it feels to me. Can't wait to see you in the middle again. Thanks for sharing the middle with me. As always, I hope you've been able to see a little bit of yourself in the story we shared today. Don't forget to follow, share, rate, review, and follow me on social media at Lacey Shares. You can always check out the Joyful Support Movement at joyfulsupportmovement.com and see all of the amazing goodness we have there, like No Shame in the Home Game, Pops of Joy, courses, resources, and of course, the Joyful Support Village. All right, now go out there and spread some joy.